Welcome into another week of A-List Podcast. I'm Kwani Lunis, joined by Gary Washburn and Sherrod Blakely. How's it going?
What's going on, Kwani?
I'm doing well. Gary, how are you?
Everywhere, Gary. Every time I open my email, I go on YouTube, I look at LinkedIn. There's something about Kwani. She's like kind of a big deal, sort of, kind of, Gary. You think?
She got big events coming up. We got to hear from the streets. Like, she can't even tell us herself that she's hosting big shows and big deals, big things, events.
Big.
We got to hear from the streets. That's
well. For the listeners, it's not, I didn't realize it was as big as it. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but I am hosting this Celtics Heroes Among Us reception on Thursday. And apparently there was an email. I didn't get the email. So I feel kind of left out, to be honest.
Why? Because
we did.
You reminded that you hosted it?
Yeah, I wanted to get invited to the event.
Invited to your own event?
Yes.
Really?
Really,
yeah.
Kwani? Really?
But it should be a good time. The Celtics are obviously honoring all the heroes among us that they've had over the past year. And I'm going to interview one of their younger heroes among us. Stay tuned for that. But should be a fun event. Are you two going?
I can't go.
Oh, come on.
I'll be hanging out with my Dukes. Me and my Dukes going to hit Cape Cod. We're going to hit Cape Cod.
I'm going to try to make it.
Gary said once he saw the invite, he wasn't going to show up.
He ain't going nowhere.
See,
what happened was I got caught in traffic.
On my way to the
I'll try to make it.
Okay.
Is there any special guests besides you? Are there any other special guests?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so.
Food and drinks. Feature food.
That's all the special guests we need, though.
That's all you need. Those are all the special guests you need. Mr. Food and Mrs. Drink.
Right.
They're going to be there, Gary. And you should too.
But moving on to more Celtics talk. Every week we've been talking about Kevin Durant. And last week we were hoping that by this week it'd be over. And it is, because Kevin Durant and the Nets have agreed to stay together and mend their relationship.
Stay together, loving you. I'm sorry.
Beautiful vocals there. But what are your two reactions to, one, KD deciding to stay in Brooklyn, but now that we know this won't affect, well, it will still affect the Celtics, but not directly. How do you feel about that?
This is a prime example of that age-old analogy about it being cheaper to keep her. The Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant realized that together, they've got something much better than they would have if they broke up. If you're Kevin Durant, you were going to basically be sold pennies on a dollar for what your true value is, because no one was going to give Brooklyn Nets what your true value is. Brooklyn Nets, you were going to get something less than what you should be getting for a player of Kevin Durant's talent and ability, even at this stage. And at that point, it's just like, well, if the team's not going to benefit from moving you, and you're not going to get any closer to winning a championship per se if you're moved on, why are we breaking up? And you got Kyrie Irving, who's already going to be back in the fold. You got Ben Simmons, who hopefully he'll be able to play by the time the season starts. I guess he's been cleared to do 3-on-3 now. So when you look at all the reasons why you wanted to leave and look at all the reasons why you should stay, it just makes sense to stay together. Keep the family unit intact.
Yeah, they one big happy family in Brooklyn. I'm a little stunned that Kevin backed off after 2 weeks ago being like, you got to fire the coach and the GM. Now, I don't know whether he just said to himself, Kevin, you know what? It's probably not going to happen better for me anywhere else. He's probably comfortable in Brooklyn. He knows what he's going to get. I'm sure Kyrie's probably been, hey, man, I'm going to be right this year. I'm going to play in like 50 games. 50, 55. I'm going to give you 55 games this year. So
a good 55 games.
Kyrie, like, I'm going to be on to Kyrie, like Boney T, I'm going to be on time most of the time. I'm going to give you 2/3 of the season.
Why you got to bring Boney T into this, man? Why you got to bring Boney T into this?
Boney T, like, I'm going to be on time most of the time. I'm going to play 50, 53, 54 games. And obviously, I just think for Kevin's sake, his reputation was taking a real hit. The prospects of him, and I'm sure the Nets were like, listen, Kevin, like, we're not moving you for some low budget deal. Like, we're not trading a Jaguar for a Hyundai. We're not getting like less than all-star talent for you. No one's moving on this. So we can either wait and see what happens, and you can go to any team. It doesn't, like we're not going to go for your preferred list. It could be Charlotte. It could be Minnesota. It could be like, we going to send you anywhere. Or we can stick it out this year, see what happens. They've made some moves. They got TJ Warren. They got Royce O'Neal. They re-signed Patty Mills. They re-signed Nick Claxton. They got apparently an engaged Kyrie and perhaps a healthy Ben Simmons. I ain't got no problem. Like Ben, I'm hopefully he'll talk to the media and express all of what he's gone through, so maybe we can understand more, because he's taken so much flack over the last year or so. But if he's fired up and ready to go and all-star caliber form, they got a good club. So what's Kevin doing? Do you want to risk it? Because you're not going to Boston or Philadelphia. The Celtics are not going to give up the house. So I just think he thought about it, and then the owners talked to him and was like, listen, well, maybe more input on some moves. I don't know what more they could have given him that they haven't, but obviously they reconciled for now. I think they're going to continue to reconcile and talk, and let's see what happens in a couple of months when training camp starts.
See, I'm not giving that fool no more power, no more input. In fact, I'm retracting that from him, because he the same cat that said, hey, bring my boy DeAndre aboard. What should we pay him? I don't know. $10 million a year? How many years? 4? What? Gary, damn well DeAndre Jordan couldn't have gotten $40 million in another 40 years. Okay.
No, right.
And the fact that they did that for him, the fact that they gave, the only time that they showed any pushback on anything Kevin Durant wanted to do was when Kevin Durant said, you need to fire Steve Nash, you need to fire Sean Marks. That was the first time the ownership was just like, okay, Kevin, look, you need to chill. You need to chill. We need to work this out. And to me, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you need to go back to how you approach team building before you got Kevin Durant. When they had, when they had Kenny Atkinson as their coach, you looked at the type of players that they were bringing in. You look at the DNA that those guys had. Guys like Bruce Brown and those type of players. They need to get back to that mindset. They can't they can't go out this big game hunting now that they've got KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. They need to put the right players around them and go back to the blueprint that made them competitive when they didn't have much talent. Kevin Durant, this is one of those times where I definitely want to hear what you have to say, but understand that I'm going to do what I need to do as a front office, as an ownership group. And it may not be what you want to be done, but you got to trust me, just like I'm going to trust you out there to go give me 25, 7, and 7 every night. They have to build that. To me, is where they're at now. They've got to figure out a way to trust each other, because the one thing that if you're the Brooklyn Nets, they're not going to come out and say it, but that trust is broken. I mean, when you give him everything he wants, and then he says, but I want to be out, and I want to go to this team or that team, and they're looking at him like, wait, whoa. Hey, we gave you the food on the shelf. We gave you the food in the pantry. We put money in your pocket. We put shoes on your feet. What? We can't do any more for you than we've done. And you want to say you want to bounce? Hell, we paid you a max contract and you didn't even play a year, dude. You were bro man chilling your first year in Brooklyn. And we didn't trip about anything. So Kevin Durant, from a simple loyalty standpoint, this should have never even been an issue, because they literally paid you max money and got zero production from you when you first got there. And you never heard a word from Brooklyn saying, damn, why are we paying this dude all this damn money? And we're not even getting practice. Forget about games. We're not even getting real practice time from a man. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, the things that you want to have happen don't quite come together the way you wanted them to. And your first reaction is, okay, Brooklyn, not only do I want out, but I want you to send me to these specific teams. Stop, Kevin Durant. You're better than that, man. You're better than that.
For those who didn't hear the statement, I'm going to quickly read it, but it was released by GM Sean Marks. Steve Nash and I, together with Joe Tsai and Clara Wu Tsai, met with Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman in LA. That was 2 days ago at this point, 3 days. And we've agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind: build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn. That being said, are you to buy, selling, or renting that Kevin Durant and his agents are actually good at this point? And why? Or why not?
I mean, I think for now they're good. I mean, I just think the options for Kevin Durant are limited. I think he saw that. I think Kyrie saw that earlier when Kyrie was like, send me to the Lakers, send me here, and the Nets were trying, like, value is different, man, in this league. And teams have seen the perils of these lopsided trades for superstars and how many superstars have led their teams after these trades to championships. The only example is Kawhi in Toronto. That's it. The rest, who won the title last year? Golden State. Who won the title before that? Milwaukee. Who won all the 4 before that or 3 before that? Golden State. Then Cleveland. Like, the fact is, this ain't working. James Harden does not have a championship. Ben Simmons does not have a championship. Kyrie Irving has 1 with LeBron James. Kevin Durant has 2 because he signed. He didn't get traded. He signed with Golden State. So, like, this whole, like, we're gonna put all the chips in. Minnesota did it with Rudy Gobert. Let's see how that works. Like, it hasn't been effective so far in this NBA last decade, half decade, whatever. So I think the options are limited. And I think Durant and his people, he just got to get, like Durant, Kevin just get on the floor, get healthy, get right, get ready with your guys, and try to be a leader and lead this team to a championship. Brooklyn has done everything it could since it moved to Brooklyn and moved out of New Jersey. New image, the New Jersey Nets were never a really, really had a great image, although they went to a couple of NBA finals in the early 2000s. They never had a really good image. Brooklyn, hey, we in New York, Biggie, they have really tried to be this kind of juggernaut, this elite team. And it's mostly failed. And they've tried, though, really tried. And they put a lot of the, faith in Kevin Durant to help lift that, and it hasn't happened. Now, it's not all his fault at all. Last year they got swept. He had a bad series. The year before that, if he had if his foot was a little shorter, they would have, maybe made to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just, to me, Kevin's got to start worrying about ball. He's 34 years old in September. He's just got to worry about his image, his reputation, and be a little bit more like, I'm just going to worry about the game. It's all about the game right now. It's all, we'll see what happens next year. Next year, maybe he gets traded, because Lord knows Kyrie is probably not going to be back in Brooklyn. Kyrie's playing for his career, because if Kyrie starts tripping again, what's his worth around the league? He's going to be in Charlotte, or he's going to be somewhere at a team paying him, $15 million. Like, he's not, his eliteness is wearing off. Ben Simmons, he's playing for his career. Like, all these guys are playing for something. So let's see if Kevin can galvanize that and put them together and have a championship caliber team.
Yeah, I mean, this season is all about redemption for the Brooklyn Nets, not only as an organization, as a franchise, but for their core players. As you pointed out, Gary, they all have something significant at stake this season, where they have to, frankly, they got to shut up their haters. They got to shut up the people who are doubting them. And the reason that people are doubting them is because they have planted those seeds of doubt over time. Ben Simmons, I mean, the lasting image of Ben Simmons right now is him shrinking in the biggest moment as a Sixer when he passed to as bad a free throw shooter as he is. He had a chance for a layup and passed to a guy who was a worse free throw shooter because he was afraid that new Celtic Danilo Gallinari was going to pin his stuff on the glass. When has Gallinari ever pinned anybody's stuff on the glass? That happened in February. That's when it happened. February. Because that doesn't happen. And you look at Kevin Durant, greatest player, one of the greatest players we'll ever see. And it seems no matter where he's at some point, there's a limited shelf life on his happiness. You get to lead a great young up-and-coming team in Oklahoma City. You don't win a championship. I'm not happy anymore. I want to go. You go to Basketball Utopia in Golden State, and you're the best player on the team that has the best collection of players. Not happy. You go to Brooklyn. You get your boys. You get your boy a 4-year, $40 million. I wish I had friends like that. Not even going to front. I wish I had homeboys.
Hey, I'm going to get you 4 and 4. I'm going to get you 4 and 4, Sherrod, believe. You count on that.
Hold my breath and wait for that one.
I'm going to get you 4 and 40.
But he gets his boys together. They're in a great city. The ownership is doing anything and everything they want, and they have some setbacks. He doesn't play as well as he's accustomed to playing. Shelf life over. He's ready to move on. Only to find out that no one really is feeling him the way he feels he should be felt. Bottom line is they have to step their game up and be great individually and collectively. I don't know how it's going to work with Ben Simmons, because I think on paper it should work well. But the only way it's going to work is if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can be the best version of themselves. Shout out to Brad Stevens, best versions of themselves in the roles that they are going to be asked to play and expected to play. We haven't really talked about it because it's not a major and it's not a sexy topic, but Steve Nash is not a good coach. And their talent is going to have to compensate for the fact that their coach is not very good. And if they got all this, and that's why, like when Kevin Durant made the whole get rid of the GM, get rid of the coach, I was half on board with that. I like where his head was going with that, but he did what most players do in the league, reached a little too far. Bottom line is they got to come together, their big three, and figure out a way to make this team not just competitive, but actually elite.
Well, before we move on and talk about how Kevin Durant and the Nets will now be affecting the Celtics in the Eastern Conference, let's take a pause because we have to give some love to Indeed.com. No one has a business like yours with all its strengths and challenges. So to succeed, you're going to need a hiring partner that adapts to your needs. You need Indeed. Indeed actually does all the work for you. When you pay to post a job, their instant match shows you the candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your description immediately after you post so that you can hire the best person faster. They even offer quizzes so that you can pinpoint exactly who you need and what kind of skill sets that you want that person to have. Indeed has such great talent that, in fact, 3 of 4 of U.S. online job seekers search for jobs on Indeed each month, according to ComScore. So not only are you going to get the best talent, you're going to get a wider pool because they have so many things to offer in general. Even better, Indeed's the only job site where you can only pay for applications that meet those must-have requirements. All you have to do to start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit, that's from us, our gift to you. All you have to do to upgrade your post is go to Indeed.com/A-list. You can claim that $75 credit towards your first job posting. Indeed.com/A-list. Indeed.com/A-list. That's the website. Make sure you sign up if you have a small business. Need to hire, you need Indeed. Brooklyn, the Nets.
They can use Indeed.
Kyrie, they need to use Indeed for maybe a general manager and a coach. But overall, how much does KD's return impact the Celtics this upcoming season?
I think it makes things more interesting. I think the Celtics, they had a clear, kind of teams to watch on the radar, and Brooklyn has now put themselves well in position to be one of those teams. When you look at their big three, you look at the fact that, as we talked about earlier, those guys are going to be on a mission this year. Kyrie Irving still believes he's one of the best at his position, and I think his approach to the season is going to reflect that. How long will he be on the floor? How many games will he play? That remains to be seen. But the attitude, I think, is going to be a little bit more edgy. Same thing with Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is going to take it personal that more teams weren't willing to give over significant assets to acquire him. Kevin Durant, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say Kevin Durant can be petty. He want to be. I kind of like that petty side of Kevin Durant, not even going to lie. And I think we're going to see that come out in his play this year. I would not be shocked if Kevin Durant is a top 3, top 4 MVP candidate based on his play this year. And based on, I think, Brooklyn winning a few more games. But to me, the big wild card with them is Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons is the one guy that if you're the Celtics, you're probably most concerned about him because of his ability to not shut down, but certainly make life a lot tougher for your best players. His ability to defend both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, switching on and off of those guys, that could be a potential problem if you were to see those guys in the playoffs, because he's a really good defender, and he is especially good against those two guys. So if you're the Celtics, they're another team that you're going to have to go through in order to get back to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I think that obviously the odds makers, I think the Brooklyn was 18-1 to win the Eastern Conference or something like that. No, to make the finals or to win the finals, and now they're 9-1. And then when Kevin Durant decided to stay, so obviously the odds makers like this team twice as much as you could say to make an impact. I think that they're going to be the Celtics' biggest competitor in the East. In the Atlantic Division, because obviously, like Philadelphia, we really don't know, although they're going to be healthy and pretty good. Toronto didn't really do much in the offseason. They signed Otto Porter. And the Knicks, well, we don't know what they're going to be yet. We'll see what happens with Donovan Mitchell and see what happens there. But I think that the rivalry between the Nets and the Celtics is going to be really intense. The Nets are going to be fired up. And let's see what Ben Simmons brings to the table. Remember, he hasn't played him now more than a year, to expect him to be all-star Ben right away, or even, it might take a halfway through the season for him to get his form back. What will his shot look like? Will he shoot? Like, what kind of player will he be? Is he trying to reform his game, or is he just going to be same old Ben in a new place? I think that's one of the most fascinating storylines of the season is Simmons, because he took so much flack and criticism, understandably, for his lack of offense. He's never developed a jump shot. He didn't come to the league with a jump shot, and he still hasn't developed one. And people are just like, dude, what's wrong? Like, how come you can't spend a summer in the gym working on your J and at least be a reliable, capable shooter? You don't have to be a great shooter. You ain't gonna ever be Steph Curry, but damn, bro, hit a 16-footer. Will he be able to do that? Or is he going to be the same Philadelphia Ben, but just in Brooklyn and, with a new uniform on? So I think that's fascinating. But the Nets have a lot of questions. Joe Harris, is he going to be healthy coming back? Nick Claxton, can he handle the starting? As we saw, he missed 10 of 11 free throws in game 3. That could have got them that game if he hit 5 or 6 of those joints. Is he ready for more responsibility? Bruce Brown is gone. He signed with Denver, so he was a key component. Seth
But
Curry,
no money too. Didn't even get the bag.
Yeah,
he was just like, just give him something. Just give him some chips.
Yeah, and then Seth Curry just turned 32. Is he going to be ready to roll? I mean, I'm not saying that's old, but he's 10 years in now. So let's see what happens. Patty Mills didn't necessarily have a great year. What's he like? He's getting up there. TJ Warren coming off a year off. So there's a lot of question marks for Brooklyn. But if everything works, I mean, they're a 50-win team, and they can push the Celtics in the East.
That being said, who do you think has the most pressure from the Nets organization right now?
Who you got, G?
It's Simmons. Like, no. I take that. It's Kyrie.
Yeah.
It's Kyrie. Yeah. I mean, Simmons just got hurt. Kyrie, didn't want to show up for work. The team wanted to get rid of him. It didn't work out. He's got to be professional Kyrie. Like, he's got to reassess. It can't be about him. He just turned 30. So he's not young anymore. He's not the masterful point guard on LeBron's cast teams. Like, he's a grown-ass man. And, he knows that. I mean, I'm not saying he's immature, but he can't be about him. And I think this is the biggest, obviously, there's a lot of players, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, biggest years of their career. I don't know if we've ever entered a year where like 5 or 6 former All-Stars are playing for their careers. And Simmons is signed through a long time, so it's not like his career's over, he'll still get paid. But Simmons, what if it doesn't work out? James Harden, but Kyrie's on that list. I mean, he is playing for money. Is he a $30 million a year player after this season? That's what teams are going to have to figure out. Or will he have to go to, I always mention like Charlotte or, Houston.
Sacramento.
Yeah, Sac to get that
Orlando.
Kind of money. Will he have to go somewhere, a small market team or not a championship caliber team to get, that bag? So I'd say the pressure is mostly on Kyrie Irving because he kind of disjointed. He screwed up the team last year. He did. That whole thing, not wanting to play, that messed everything up because they were ready to roll last year with Harden and healthy Durant.
I would normally agree with you on that, Gary, but here's the thing. This team, no matter what Kyrie does, if he comes back ready to roll, they're only going to go as far as Kevin Durant leads them. And when Kevin Durant made the decision that he was trying to get off the ship, that threw the calculus for this team going forward out of whack. Because it's one thing to deal with Kyrie and all of his Kyrie-isms, because we're used to that. I don't think anybody was surprised that Kyrie decided, I don't know if I really want to play this year. Yeah, that vaccine thing, I don't know if I want to do that. That really didn't surprise anyone. Kevin Durant publicly asking for a trade, you don't see that happen. That doesn't really fit the Kevin Durant, my mama, she the real MVP. It doesn't fit that narrative. Yeah. And so when Kevin Durant put that out there, now it's like, okay, now you're pulling a Deion Sanders and backpedaling this that bad thing, trying to walk it back. How is that going to play out in the locker room? Because you have to be the galvanizer. You have to be the one that makes Kyrie. If Kyrie is willing to play ball for 55, 60 games, you need to make sure that he's engaged in all 60 of those games. If Ben Simmons wants to slowly kind of, ramp his way back up to being an elite defensive player and a great facilitator, you got to instill confidence in him that he's getting closer to being that player. Kevin Durant has to be that source that everything this franchise does revolves around. And normally that wouldn't be something that anyone would question. But when a dude says he wants to be traded and then follows that up by saying, okay, get rid of the coach and the GM, and then comes back and says, nah, we're just going to move forward.
We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. That sends a lot of mixed messages to your teammates. It sends a lot of mixed messages to your fan base. And it creates a lot of uncertainty and confusion about the direction of the organization and the team. Mm-hmm. And the only way that is going to be settled is if you, Kevin Durant, bring it all together. So to me, I think there's more pressure on him to bring it all together, because even though it wasn't necessarily his fault that things fell apart, it is going to be his responsibility to put them together.
The Celtics, they're still struggling with some end of the bench battles. There's reports that Denzel Valentine is one of the newest addition, the former first-round pick. What are you guys thinking about the end of the Celtics bench and as we enter this new season?
I like the fact that Brad's bringing in some guys who can compete. But look, Denzel ain't moving the needle for me. Noah Vonleh ain't moving the needle for me. Nice guys, good players. Once upon a time, people thought real highly of them. Now they're kind of like those fallen angels that are still trying to rock and roll with the big boys. I like the fact that Brad Brad doesn't really have much of a choice because Brad is, he's like an option quarterback with those first round picks. If I need to get this player, I'm pitching it. Here's a first round pick. So you have to at least have some type of structure to develop young talent. And what Brad is essentially doing is taking former first round picks who, for whatever reason, didn't work out, come to camp. We might have a spot at the end of the bench for you. And if you play really well and work your way up, you have the potential to, frankly, reinvent yourself and have a career beyond just, playing in the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association, where you drop in 35 and 35 every game. That's nice over there, but as we've seen, that does not translate to NBA success. Right. So he's giving these guys a second chance at sticking in the league, and I respect that.
You got Gary cracking up over there.
Right. Why you talk about the CBA like that? That ain't cool, man.
Shavlik Randolph. You remember Shavlik Randolph?
Africa League. BAL.
I can't believe that. Anyway, I think that they're going to have some hungry guys in there to compete. I haven't seen much. Like Noah Vonleh is intriguing because he's a top 15 pick. He came out too damn early out of Indiana. He wasn't
one of Sherrod's guys. Call.
Yeah, he wasn't ready. Then he bounced around, but he's still only 25, 26. Sherrod's homeboy, Bruno Cablucco. I liked him. Yes. Striking resemblance to Isaiah Blakely.
I still need that DNA result. We should talk about that next week.
Like, damn, Sherrod, your son got big. Your son be in the gym. Like, anyway. So, to me, they'll battle it out. The kid from Florida State, Mufondo, I got to learn how to pronounce his name. I sound like Fred Sanford here.
Maybe you won't have to.
Mufondo. Menudo. From El Segundo. Anyway, I sound like the kid from Florida State, the big man. He's going to compete. Denzel Valentine, does he have something left? He learned how to shoot the three a little bit, but it just didn't work out in Chicago, and then he went to Cleveland. We'll see. He's been out for like a year out of the NBA. We'll see what happens there. I think that's an intriguing thing. And they could also, listen, they got a month before training camp. There's guys out there that they can bring in, and somebody's going to bring these dudes in. The Montrezl Harrell, the Dwight Howard, DeMarcus Cousins. My main man, Carmelo Anthony, is still out there. So there are plenty of guys out there still. And remember, this whole KD thing locked up the free agency. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, tweeted, "Oh damn, now can we sign? Like, is everything cool now that we can start getting bit? Can the NBA business begin again now that he's not going anywhere?" Because Isaiah Thomas, our friend from former Celtic, is out there still without a contract. So there's going to be guys out there, and I'm sure Brad is keeping abreast. It's only August. He can sign them in another month, right before training camp, and bring him in. So I'm sure they're considering that to get to that 20 roster player limit. But to me, I mean, I like it. Bringing guys, and I think they need an old head. I think they need a veteran who can come in there and help the young guys, help Tatum and Brown in terms of a guy who's been around. And if that's, I don't know if Dwight Howard's that guy or anybody like that, but DeMarcus Cousins, somebody, who, hey man, they might have some stripes on their record and might have some issues from the past, but they can be that kind of old vet that these guys can talk to. That's what I think. Al Horford's great or whatever, but I think you might need another guy on the roster who can come in there and just give some guidance to some of the young guys. That's what I would look for over the last, and you got plenty of guys out there right now.
Yeah. Oh, Gary, is Fiondu Cabanelli. That's who you're thinking about.
Yes, Fiondu. That's what I said. Fiondu.
Yeah, exactly.
Sherrod named him. He would know. Okay.
He's my guy too. He's one of my guys too.
All your guys.
Again, like I said earlier, I really don't put a whole lot of stock in any of these guys right now, because if they're playing major minutes, that's a problem. If they're playing, that'd be something went really wrong. So I like that.
Would you have that or Luke Cornett as your third center?
Gary?
That scares me.
I'm going to tell you right now, I honestly believe if they keep the same guys in camp that they're going to camp with, they're going to go into the season and they're going to shift Danilo Gallinari over to the third center. I'm telling you, Gary, it's going to happen. And he's never played center before. He's never played. But hey, you know what?
Number 3 center on a championship team. Like,
think really? About it, though.
No,
he's
they're going to
bring in.
They're going to sign one of them big guys. And I said, they still got guys out there who can play the 5, who's unsigned. I just think this whole like we can run Luke Cornett out there. No, you can't. Stop that.
That's not going to happen.
I don't know why Brad is telling us they can run Luke Cornett out there, and let's be honest, he's a nice kid, and he knows somebody in the organization because he keeps getting contracts. But I mean, come on now, like who we fooling here? So like, I'd rather than bring in one of the old heads, talk to him before these guys. I think that some of the guys know that their careers are on the line. They can't act the fool. Dwight's not young. DeMarcus ain't young. They can't act the fool like they did when they was 26, 24 in their prime. They can't act the fool. And we've seen them act a fool or not. They know they're in their 30s. They on the other side of 30.
If you say act the fool one more time.
Well, it's true. They can't act the fool. They can't go DMX. Heck, you gonna make me act a fool up in here. They can't do that no more.
Kwani, did he just do what
Party up. The great DMX. Can't. Anyway, they can't. So I think Brad talks to him and says, listen, this is what we got. Do you want to take it? You want to be part of a championship team? You want to help out? You want to be the end of the bench guy? You want to play some when, maybe, because they're going to slow down Al. They're probably going to limit Al to 60, 65 games or whatever. They need a third center. This team needs a productive five. So it could be Bruno Caboclo, Mafundo, and Noah Vonleh, or it could be, I said, Cousins or Dwight. I'm not saying Dwight's a great role model or whatever, but he can't bring anything to a locker room or to a team now. And the same with DeMarcus. Like I haven't heard any negative DeMarcus stories in a while. Dwight, he won a championship with the Lakers. So, we'll see.
Beyondu.
Yeah, Bufondo.
Beyondu.
By the time the season starts, Gary's gonna have it down. Thanks to Sherrod.
It's August. Give me.
That's the first thing I'm gonna do. Gary, I want you to meet Beyondu.
Another noteworthy thing related to the Celtics this week was Jason Tatum. We knew that he already had that right shoulder injury during the Eastern Conference Finals, but on to Bleacher Report to Taylor Rooks, he mentioned that he was also playing through a fractured wrist. So how does that affect the way you view his playoff performance?
Well, it gives
it at all?
It gives you a better sense of why he was off. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing was that his three-point shot wasn't that far off, but it was finishing at the rim. And when you think about it, if you've got a bum wrist, you don't have the kind of touch that you're used to having. And when you're driving to the basket, that's how you score. You've got to have touch. So I get it. But Jason Tatum was in a lose-lose situation with this. Because if he opened up about it during the playoffs, he's soft, he can't play through pain, there's that narrative. If he opens up now, it's like, well, Jason, you should have played through it anyway. You shouldn't have said anything. You're still he can't win any kind of conversation that involves any type of injury because people don't seem to understand and appreciate how talented this dude is when he's healthy. Jason Tatum is a top 5 NBA player when he's healthy. There are not 5 players in the NBA when Jason Tatum is at the top of his game that you can clearly say are better than him. And when you've got a guy who has that type of talent, who ain't even 25 yet, he can't even go to the damn rental car place and get a decent rate yet. He's getting jacked at the rental car place because they don't deal with cats under 25 with any type of reasonability. Jason Tatum is that good. He's that dude, and people don't appreciate that. And the fact that he revealed, I'm glad that he opened up about it because any of us who watched him play knew something was not right with him, and weren't sure whether it was a physical thing or whether it was a mental thing where just the pressure of the moment was getting to him. But to hear him talk about how, just kind of the issue that he had and the fact that he didn't want to get tested because he knew that they would shut him down. He knew that they would do something to make it difficult for him to be out there and play, because the last thing they want to do, the Celtics, is be on the hook and be accused of playing a guy who's hurt. And so Tatum, wisely or not, depending on how you look at it, just kind of didn't talk about that, did different treatments. And I thought it was real interesting. He would put like a little, some type of splint or something on after games. And when the camera's around, take that bad boy off as if he's good. So I get it. I get it. But Tatum, he cannot win in any way, shape, or form by revealing his injury, whether he revealed it now or whether he revealed it at the time.
Yeah. Much respect to Taylor Ricks. I'm a big Taylor Ricks fan in terms of her work. She does great work. I work with her in the bubble. She does good interviews. So much respect for Taylor Ricks for getting that out of Tatum. What I don't want people to think is we didn't ask him about this. We asked him repeatedly if he was healthy. He told us he was. You need no surgery. Oh, need no surgery. Everything's fine. So he just decided during this interview to reveal. We all knew that he had some type of hand or wrist injury. We weren't sure of the extent of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Tatum, kept it from us. And in the offseason and in the all the interviews he's done, because he's done about 25 interviews since the season's ended. He hasn't talked about it, but he decided to talk about it with Taylor. So I don't want people to think he wasn't asked about it or we didn't know or, oh my God, he was hurt. Like
he was Barry Sanders with that question.
Yeah, he did not. We asked him several times about his health, whether he was 100% or close to 100% because nobody's 100% in the NBA. And he was like, no, I'm good. No, I don't need surgery. No, my shoulder's fine. Everything's fine. So, I don't know how much he heard it on Super Bowl Sunday. He heard it in February. So what was the extent of the injury in June? That's the question. That was 4 months later, he played in the finals. But he dropped some masterful games in that 4 month span. Yeah. So it's hard for me to put his finals performance strictly on the wrist. Okay, because we don't know. I mean, he dropped 46 against Milwaukee in that closeout game or that do or die game 6. And that's 3 games after he said he aggravated it in game 3. So he found some kind of potion to use to heal it up, or he played through great pain. And we don't know because Jason's not going to really say anything about how much pain he was enduring. But I do think it's interesting that he was hurt. I think we all knew, that there was something not quite right. But I don't want to put the whole now we know why he didn't play well in the finals, because he played well in the conference finals. He played well in the semifinals. So I just think but it's just one of those things where it's just one of those injuries you deal with. And if you're out there playing, you're playing. No breaks for injuries. How many injuries has LeBron been through? Kawhi, all these great players, Steph, all played through pain and they don't say nothing and they produce great games. So I'm going to I understand Jason and I hopefully he's healthy, but I'm not going to put all that on his finals performance.
I want winners, says Gary Washburn.
That's it. No excuses.
Mike Singletary, that's right.
Quickly around the NBA, I'll give you some quick updates. Donovan Mitchell, the rumors to New York. Danny Ainge is basically trying to exploit teams like he usually does. So maybe next week we'll have an actual update as to whether or not that trade goes down. Dennis Schroeder might be back with the Lakers. That's a report from Mark Stein. Not sure if that's going to actually happen. He's obviously since been in Boston and Houston since then. But I think the biggest story that's the most recent one is Shams reporting that Chet Holmgren has suffered a ligament damage in his foot and is undergoing further opinions. So the number 2 pick now with OKC Thunder might or might not be available this upcoming season, but we'll see about that. That's a wrap on the A-List podcast, though. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. This is the A-List podcast.